Today we're talking to Altrincham Manager Phil Parkinson after the 5-0 reverse against Solihull Moors on Saturday, which was a really difficult afternoon for everybody at the football club. We did do an interview with Phil following the match, but unfortunately Lawrence Howard's audio recording was interrupted by some very unprofessional behaviour by Solihull Moors Football Club on their public address system, and also the sound quality was poor, so it's not broadcastable and we're not able to bring you that. So we're doing an interview with Phil on Sunday. Phil, on to matters on the pitch. It was a really torrid afternoon for us. A 5-0 reverse, very, very disappointing. But let's start on a positive. At the end of the game, you went over to the fans with the players, and there was 120 of them there, travelled in their numbers, fantastic support and great support throughout the game on a really difficult afternoon for everyone. And that was great to see.
Yeah, we're having a really tough time at the moment, aren't we? And as we always do, we went over to show our respects, and then I was walking back in, and I just felt I needed to say some words to the support as well, because they were so good all the way through for us, really showing the class. And this is where you need your supporters to be behind you, where they know what you're up against, and I really showed what it means to be an Altrincham supporter yesterday, because it's really easy for them at the moment, and they have every right to sort of turn against us, because it is a result-driven business. But I think if you're a true supporter and you really know your football, which our fans do, they can see what we're up against every week. And all right, we didn't do well enough yesterday, but there's very few times that I can hand on my heart say that. I feel the players do give their lot. I think we are up against it. We're sort of on a running track against Usain Bolt. I use that analogy with no spikes on, because we can't compete financially and we're not full time. But what we do, we invest well in really hungry players. It doesn't matter what age they are, who want to play for Altrincham Football Club. And I think when fans can see what they're up against and what they're giving on the pitch, they can accept some performances. But yesterday wasn't acceptable. But the run that we've been on, I really needed to hear that from our fans as well. It picked me up, because sometimes the motivator needs motivating as well. And that was inspirational. Our fans were absolutely top draw yesterday.
It was a really torrid afternoon on the pitch, but it started well. We had plenty of possession in the opening 15 minutes, created a couple of decent opportunities. Ryan Colclough was a little bit unfortunate to see his shot squirm under Ryan Boot and hit the post. And then Ben Pringle had a decent opportunity, which was a comfortable save for Ryan Boot in the end. But Solihull's first goal, it was pretty routine ball down the middle. We didn't deal with it. Fortunately, Tony Thompson's got us out of jail with a very good save. But from the second phase of play, we weren't able to deal with that either. And before you know it, the ball's in the back of our net.
Yeah, well, I think it was Dallas who scored that first one, wasn't he? He's banging form at the moment. And this is what we're coming up against. I've been here many seasons now, and I've seen it in all the different divisions. You can play teams at the wrong times, and unfortunately, it feels like Lady Luck has sort of deserted us at the moment in terms of when we're playing teams who we've got fit and available, and it definitely has an effect on the game. But it shouldn't have an effect on that moment that you're speaking about there, which is a routine ball down the middle. The centre halves haven't covered themselves in glory with the way they've dealt with that, and it's something we need to address. And we will do, by the way, that will be looked at, and it will be sorted out sooner rather than later, because it can't continue that way. And then, as you said, Tony Thompson, as he's done many, many times over the years, has made a great save or a routine save, because that's what they are for Tony now. We expect him to make these saves. And the second phase, when you give a player of his quality who scored 5 last week on his own, he's not going to miss them opportunities. So I've said all the way through, we have to get pretty much everything right to get results in this division, and when we get things wrong, we get heavily punished, and you saw that.
The key moment in the game was certainly the 22nd minute sending off of Kevin Burko. What was your view of the incident? And certainly Altrincham players and yourselves on the side seemed pretty unhappy with the performance of the referee. It didn't really get, and I know we lost 5-0, but he really didn't give us very much all afternoon.
No, it felt like we were up against a home. It felt that way, and I'm sure he hasn't turned up to do that. I think he's had a bad day at the office. I think if he looks back at his performance, as we all have to, I certainly will look at mine, and the players will look at theirs. But I felt the referee had a real bad day for an Altrincham team coming to a difficult place. I didn't feel Solihull covered themselves in glory either, the way they were rolling around on the floor, getting around the official. These things, these gamesmanship things, I hate to see. We're trying to teach kids not to, or I've got a young child myself and I'm trying to teach them the right things. And when they're going to these games and they see that I don't like to see it. And it's not because we've had a player sent off, but the referee was massively influenced from the side of the pitch, on the pitch. And that's their experience as well. I've got to accept that just because we don't promote that, it doesn't mean other teams aren't going to. But yeah, I felt that was a big reason why Kev got sent off. I didn't feel he won the ball, and he took everything. He won the ball, and the players coming into him, he can't jump out of the way. His leg was bent. It wasn't straight leg. Unless we're going to go non-contact, I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to do in these situations. If we want lads to go into tackles, then that's going to be an outcome sometimes. There is going to be contact after he's completely won the ball and he's made contact with the player after. He was in control of what he was doing. But again, if you watch it back, I've seen it myself, the reaction of the players, they knew exactly what they were doing and they got the outcome they wanted. But for me, that's not the kind of thing I want to promote with my players and how I want to win games.
From that point until half-time, it was a real disaster zone and Solihull looked like they could score more than they did. In fact, they had a few decent opportunities. Tony Thompson's made a couple of decent saves. So to get in at 4-0 at half-time was a really bad scenario. But you must have been pleased with the way that the 10 men responded after the break.
Well, I'll just respond to that initial bit that you said there after the red card, because we were a disgrace after that. So I'm not going to protect the players from that. I'm not going to protect myself. So the information that I should have got on, I should have done more quickly and more efficiently. Obviously, it's happened very quick and you have to roll with that. But the players should have reacted a lot quicker as well. There's a lot of experience on that pitch. We didn't get into a defensive shape quickly enough where they should have just gone to a default 4-4-1, which is what any team would do when they have a man sent off, just to shore it up, especially that early on in the game. And then if we were going to go for it a little bit later on, if we could have stayed in it, a 4-2-3 maybe. But the lads were all over the place and they were looking around. There was no leadership on the pitch, which I'm not playing my skipper yesterday, so maybe that is my fault as well. But I felt we were on top for that first 15. So what we did yesterday was working. But the red card absolutely threw the lads all over the place and they couldn't dust themselves down. They couldn't organise. They couldn't show the qualities that were needed in that moment and we have in the past. So that was a bit worrying from my point of view. And again, I spoke to them about that at half time. They were absolute. They were really, really poor during that period of time. They didn't show the qualities that we needed to show to get anything out of that game. And again, I will address that, and we will sort that out. That can't happen again just because we've gone to 10 men. But yeah, got them in at half time, and again, a few home truths were spoken about, and what we needed to do to just salvage a little bit of pride because the game had gone. The game, we were never going to get back in that game. As you said, it looked like they were going to score at will. So we did set up properly in the second half. And unfortunately, young Isaac, who's I thought had a fairly decent game, to be fair, made a poor decision in our box. And again, one bad decision and it was punished. That was the 5th goal. And that was difficult to take because I felt the lads, to take anything out of the game, needed to get that clean sheet in the second half, and they weren't able to do that. So we've got a lot of work to do. We know what the problems are. A lot of it is consistency with regards to being able to pick the same team. The back four is so important, and we've had a solid back four for about 5 seasons or four and a bit seasons now. But when you've got the injuries that we've had in terms of Connor Hampson, Andy White, Tom Hannigan at the moment, losing Joel. You're bringing lads in and you're trying to get them up to speed in games and with an hour and a half in midweek with them. And it's very difficult to form them relationships that they need to have. And these aren't bad players. They're just coming together a couple of times a week, and they're trying to form them relationships that have been built over a number of seasons with the other players. But we do have to move on. Players will come and go. Unfortunately, we're kind of in that transition moment at the moment with new lads coming in, new players coming in who will probably move us forward at this level and beyond. But we're going through them teething problems, them bits in time where we're finding out who's good enough, who's not, who can do it, who can't. And it is kind of that sink or swim time for some players.
And it's interesting now. We've had a nightmare December, a nightmare January. We've only taken 1 point in each of those months. February is clearly a very, very important month for us. But bearing in mind what you've just said there, that these things takes time. We're going to have to look at things in terms of the 18 matches to the end of the season to get us where we want to do. And whilst February is really important and we need to get some points and we've got some huge games, there's still 18 games to go, and that's the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. Listen, Brian, I've said all the way through that this wasn't going to be smooth. Even when we were winning and everybody was getting very excited, I was as well. I'm a human being. When we're winning and you look like you're doing exceptionally well at this level, that's where football can come and bite you. But I was never getting carried away. I knew we were going to have a real tricky period. And if you look at this division, everybody's telling me this is the strongest National League division that they've ever seen. And you look at the money being pumped into the division, you look at the teams that you're coming up against, the resources that they have. These aren't excuses, they're just facts. We want to be here, and to be here, we've got to be better than what we are. We know what we've got to be in terms of the recruitment of players, the training that our players have to do. And we've just got to go out on the pitch and execute that. And we do it more times than we don't. But when you have a day like yesterday, everything's in doubt, everything's up in the air. But you just need to have a real steady head, really look at what it is that we've got to do to achieve our final aim, which has always got to be survival at this moment in time in this division, because it's an absolute monster of a division. We're in a good position to be able to do that. It's not going to be easy. It could get really close. But I'd like to think we've got enough quality, enough know-how, enough determination, desire, not just in the team, the board, the fans. You saw that yesterday, to get us to where we need to be. Then we need to go again. But it is imperative we stay in this division. I'm not going to allow us to sleepwalk into a relegation fight. We're in and around it at the moment in terms of how close everything is. But a couple of wins, we could be looking up the division as well. So I'm certainly not a pint half empty. I'm very positive with what we've got to do. I know the players are as well. That's so important that the players are on board. The fans certainly are. They showed that yesterday. They're going to be behind us no matter what, because if you're going to be behind us after that type of result and performance, particularly the first half, then we know we've got them all the way through, and the board have been absolutely magnificent with us in terms of helping us in any which way that they can. We're a very together club, and things like this won't rock us.
So clearly there is a threat of relegation. How much is that a concern to you?
But as I said, the main aim is survival, so it's a massive concern, but it's something that we can't just be glued towards. We have to be looking at what's going to move us forward in terms of getting better on the pitch, better players on the pitch as well. Because when we're missing some big players, as the ones I named earlier, we've got to bring those types of players into the football club, and they've got to be able to hit the ground straight away. They're not going to get 5-6 games. So they've literally got to come in, make them impacts. And that's why it's really vital that we're very proactive with looking for those types of players at the moment. And we've done a lot of recruitment over the last month or so, as I said, and new players have come in. But we've built a lot as well in terms of, for the years that I've been here, one of the keys to our success is the changing room. And it's got to be that way. If you just bring in a complete new squad right now, we're going to lose everything that we've built over the years. The lads are very together. The ones who've been here for a very long time have Altrincham at their heart, and they'll do everything they can to move us forward. But unfortunately, we are going to have days like yesterday. It just can't be too many of them. And
we lost 2 players yesterday. It was a real disappointment to lose Matty Costello in added time. And I didn't see what happened, but nobody seems to have had any complaints with that decision.
Well, I have, because I felt, again, a little bit of gamesmanship from, I think it was Ellis at the time. I think they've just had a coming together. I've watched it back again, and it's one that we certainly will be appealing. I think it needs to be, because the referee has actually apologised to Matt after the game, which I'm sure he won't admit to. He hasn't seen it. The linesman's called it. I don't think he's seen it that much. Again, the influence and the way the lad's probably rolling around has affected the decision on that. So, yeah, unless I watch it back from a different angle, which I have watched it back, it looks like Ellis is the one going into Matty, and Matty just reacted to that. And it's not the reaction that is being spoken about in terms of a lash out of a leg. So it's a coming together of two senior players, and the ref should have just dealt with that accordingly, not sent Matty off because his linesman's seeing a distorted angle of the incident. So again, if I get a different angle, I'll come back on here and I'll apologise profusely. But I felt the officiating yesterday was well below par, and that's cost us dearly with regards red cards and obviously the way the game went in terms of the way it swung for Solihull. But as I said, there's no excuses made by us. We can't perform the way we did after that initial red card in the first half. So we need to show a lot more resilience when we're in them kind of positions, and officials aren't giving us decisions that we feel should go our way, because it's not always going to go that way in football. I understand that, I know that, and we've got to do better after that.
It would appear that we're going to need more resources, more players coming on board in the near future, and I'm sure you're already on your way to sorting that out.
Yeah, you've always got to be proactive with that. You're always speaking and networking and trying to make sure that you've got a list of players for certain positions. But it is very difficult when you don't see it coming. So obviously red cards, you can't legislate for that. And then injuries coming out of nowhere. You're always looking at where you can improve moving forward. But we'll have to react to that. But I don't want it to be a knee-jerk reaction where we just bring in players in for the sake of it. They've got to be the right players. They've got to be the right fit. I feel for Kev Burko, because that's probably, if it does go that way in terms of his 3-match ban, it's probably going to be his loan over with us. So I will have to bring another left back in, which we seem to have a bit of a curse on left backs at the moment, with Connor and Whitey being out for the amount of time they have and not being able to get back to full fitness. And then obviously certain players not working out here and there. But in general, we get it right more times than we don't. It's just very difficult with the model that we're in and the type of players that we're able to recruit and want to recruit, just for the fact that we are part-time still, and for the better players, they want to be full-time. And then probably the better part-time players are quite comfortable in the divisions they're in, earning a lot more money than what we can pay with their other jobs. So it is a difficult predicament to be in with regards to recruitment. But as I said, there's lots of very good players out there, and I certainly know which ones I would like to bring in, and I'll be speaking to Rob in particular about that tomorrow when we come in, and we'll be mapping out the ones that we can actually bring in to make us stronger going into these final games.
And I'm sure one of your priorities is a central defender, because we're clearly a little bit short at the moment, particularly with Tom Hannigan's injury.
Yeah, I mean, that was done before the game yesterday. It's just we haven't been able to announce it. So that was something we were always looking to do, and we've been working hard to bring that player in. Hopefully nothing goes wrong and we're able to announce. The reason I'm not going to mention his name, because until the ink's dry or the loan move's done, I'm not going to get anybody overly excited. But we know what we need to do, and we're working hard to address those issues.
And clearly, survival is the name of the game for this season, but trying to look at things strategically, next season, it's going to be a very difficult, very difficult decision. And assuming we do stay in the league, which I'm sure we will do, and we are in a good position still to stay in this division, there's a lot of work to be done in the summer.
There is, absolutely. So we've got to be looking at what model that we're going to be. And players will dictate that as well. So the players that are here who want to stay part-time or can't do it for obviously different reasons, their performances will dictate the type of model that we're going to be looking at. So nothing's been set in stone, and it won't do until we're safe as well. So obviously survival is key. We will plan and we will make sure we're ready to move on whatever it is that we decide to do. But until we're safe and we know what division we're in, then that's where them key decisions the sort of trigger will be pulled on them. So there's constant meetings about what it is that we need to do, how we're going to do it. And as I said, that's what's great about this club. It's a progressive club and it wants to move forward. So if you're a progressive club, you always have to have these plans, targets, aims in place and be able to move on them when the club's ready to do that.